Hey guys, today we've got a little bit of a treat for you. This is a 2018 Camaro SS1LE. It's actually a subscriber's car, and I've been really excited to drive this thing. I've wanted to get into an SS1LE for quite a while. The last one I drove was back in 2015, and it was on winter tires. So this is a very welcome vehicle to the channel today. Big thanks to Harry for letting me take out his pride and joy. As you can see, this one's got a few modifications. We've got a slightly more aggressive, louder axle-back exhaust. This rear spoiler is aftermarket and looks proper. The owner does track this. So we have some different wheels, tires. These are Apex wheels on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, an excellent tire. And we have a ZL1 front bumper. So we've got that extra aerodynamic ability, some nice cooling ducts in there, these canards. Everything else is pretty much stock brakes. The owner tracks this and says it holds up really well at Gingerman Raceway, which I think is probably the hardest track on brakes in the Great Lakes region. Let's take this thing for a drive and see how it does on the road. Hopefully the audio holds up. I hear it's pretty loud. The last Camaro we drove was the SS Hot Wheels edition a couple of years ago, and I did really enjoy that car. These things you can pick up for around $37,000 to $42,000 used, and oh yes, probably one of the best performance car bargains of the day. And if you can snag a 2018 or earlier, it looks proper. These things are just like big Miatas. They handle incredibly well. They have all the capability that you need. These SS1LEs came with these beautiful Recaro seats, excellent bolstering, really nice driving position. Love the Alcantara wheel. We have a 6.2 liter V8 that makes 455 horsepower and 455 pound-feet of torque. 6-speed manual. I mean, it's all here. What else do you need? All right, let's take this thing for a drive and we'll see how it does. Already it sounds awesome. These also came with the performance data recorder. Really nice for track days. These cars also came with active rev matching. You can control that with the paddle shifters behind the wheel, which is always kind of a weird thing to see on a manual transmission vehicle. But it's a neat feature if you don't want to heel and toe or rev match yourself. It's a really good system, works incredibly well. Oh, this sounds amazing. If you need a V8 in your lives, this will do the trick. All of your inputs with these Camaros are just right. The steering's pretty good. It's a little bit lighter. This gear shift is it's a fantastic 6-speed transmission. Smooth and accurate, but just a little bit notchy. There isn't a ton of power here. It's still manageable. It's very street friendly. You can have some fun on the street, but not feel like you're going to be getting arrested going everywhere. Might attract a little bit of attention with the exhaust, but that's probably about it. This isn't like the ZL1 where you just have gobs of power. You can put your foot into it and you're not going to have to worry about spinning the tires, or you can drive this car, grab it by the scruff of the neck, and have some fun without doing crazy speeds. It's a bit more of a momentum car, and I think rewards skilled driving just a little bit more than some of the faster muscle cars out there. You could just play the 6.2 liter V8 like an instrument. I love it. Let's turn off rev matching and have our own control over those downshifts. Pedals are perfectly positioned for heel-toe downshifts. Super responsive. Still doesn't have that heavy of a flywheel. Except for that launch. The clutch is pretty easy to modulate. These are not difficult cars to drive, but they're pretty rewarding. I just love this 6-speed. I think it's a bit of a sin to get any of these GM performance vehicles with a V8 in the 10-speed automatic. I don't know, it's a great transmission, but this just is so much fun. It's so rewarding to drive. And according to the readout, for the last 66 miles, the owner has gotten 21 miles to the gallon. Such a deal, can't beat that. You know, everyone always complains about the visibility issues with these Camaros, but all you really need to do is just put a set of fisheye mirrors on the sides, and you can see all the way around you, 360 degrees, no problem. You get a pretty good view out of the rear window. The front end, of course, it's a pretty narrow front windscreen, but I think it adds to kind of the cool driving experience. You feel like you're in something special. You feel like you're in a cockpit. There is just so much grip here. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Sorry, Harry, I am significantly lowering your average fuel economy. I don't think you'll mind. This exhaust sounds fantastic too. Let's take it down to a normal speed and see if there's any drone around 70 or so. No. That's the great thing about these 6.2 liter V8s, is that you can really put a nice exhaust on these, tune it so that it just doesn't have a lot of drone. It's still livable, it still sounds nice, it's loud when you get on it, but the rest of the time it's very livable. And I'm sure outside the car this thing just screams. I bet it's super loud. So recently we had a Shelby GT350R, and granted that's a slightly more aggressive car than this SS1LE, but it's not far off. And I've got to say, this Camaro SS is it's so much more livable. There's no tram lining, even though this has a pretty wide stance and a pretty aggressive tire setup. It's just so much more livable and more comfortable and daily driver friendly. I like the driving position better in this Camaro. I feel like I fit a little bit better in this Camaro. I don't feel quite as lost in the cockpit. I'm 5'10", around 140 pounds, and I don't know, this car fits me beautifully. These seats are awesome. These Recaros really keep you well bolstered. I could easily see myself daily driving this or going on a long extended road trip and being perfectly comfortable, whereas that wasn't necessarily the case with the Shelby. And this just also feels so much more refined. The driving experience, the handling character, the shifter, everything with the engine and how everything responds. I've always compared these Camaros to they're like a big Miata, and they're so much fun to drive. I guess one of the big questions, if you're looking at one of these, is do you get the base 1LT SS and throw a bunch of parts on it and kind of build it the way you want it? Or do you swing for the 1LE with all the GM stuff? And I think it kind of depends on your level of involvement. If you want that 1LE, it's probably going to hold value a little bit better. It's going to look a little bit better. I think the appearance package on this and just kind of the look of these cars is awesome. You get these incredible Recaro seats. There are a lot of advantages to getting into one of these cars. And of course, if you want one used, you can pick one up for under 40 grand when they were brand new for around 46, 47. This thing is awesome. So much fun to drive. So we've got 5 different performance traction management modes. I haven't really touched anything in here. Let's put us into sport mode and see if that changes anything. With rev matching, there's a little bit of a delay between shifts on throttle. That's interesting. Whereas with it off, that completely goes away. I think if you're going to drive a car like this, you got to leave rev match off and do it yourself. The fact that the pedal positions and everything is set up beautifully for that makes this just a proper driver's car. It sounds so good too. puts its power down beautifully. It handles awesome. The balance and level of precision and control, you can really kind of move this car around on and off throttle. It does what you want to. It's still got that knife edge on the limits of performance. I think it's a really nice balance. Some other cool features. I like how the temperature control is integrated into these dials right here. Turn rev match off there. Steering just weights up beautifully around corners. This is a wonderful handling car. And it's really nice to see Chevrolet build a performance muscle car. I guess it's just a sports car at this point, that doesn't really shine in one particular area more than other areas. It's so well balanced. The engine doesn't overwhelm the chassis, and the chassis doesn't feel like the engine makes it, it's not fast enough. This is just a really beautiful balanced package. And it makes all those good noises. So, how can we sum up the Camaro SS 1LE? Well, if you've been driving Miatas your whole life and you're done with the slow car fast, this just feels like a big Miata. It has beautiful handling, incredible balance. I think it has a lot of nice luxuries and comfort features that make this a fantastic daily driver. It's very livable. It's very comfortable. The ride quality here is fantastic with the MagneRide suspension. I mean, it stiffens up beautifully around corners. The handling is superb. But over bumps and rough Michigan roads, it handles wonderfully over them. It's not upset by anything. There's nothing rough. You could drive this on a long trip every day, no problems. I think if you're babying this, you could probably get decent fuel economy too. Not that anyone really cares in their Camaro SS, but something to consider, something to factor in. And this is also a pretty spacious and reasonably practical car too. This could be your only vehicle. And of course, the big win here is this thing is just so rewarding to drive. And I think it'd be a wonderful sports car, performance car to live with. It's pretty friendly to novice drivers. There are a lot of assistance systems here that work well with the driver. And if you're a more advanced driver or you want to progress with your car, you can turn everything off and really get a lot out of this thing. There are some pretty crazy limits to this 1LE, and it would take a pretty skilled driver to get a lot out of it. So I like that about this car. There's a progression where you can grow with your vehicle as a driver. And with some options like a Miata or a BRZ, you kind of tend to hit a wall after a certain point where the power isn't there, the grip isn't there. And in something like this, you can really have some fun with it on the limit. Take it to track day, it'll hold up. No cooling issues, no brake issues. Straight from the factory, it does pretty well. And of course, it just makes a great sound. Think the visibility concerns are that valid anymore. A lot of cars have pretty crappy visibility, and this Camaro, I think, was just like one of the first ones to come out with such a narrow front windshield and poor blind spot in the rear three quarters. But you know what? You can fix that so easily with just a fisheye mirror. Awesome stuff. Just about as good as I thought it would be. Thanks again to the owner, Harry, for letting me drive his prized SS1LE. He's done well, I think, with the mods here, and this is just a nice, really nicely balanced car. I'll do a slightly better parking job here. There we go. Use the mirrors instead of the reverse camera, just like you were taught. Cool. Thanks again. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Cool license plate too. 285s up front, 305s in the rear. For me, I'd probably go with a square stance, but gives you a little bit more street-friendly driving characteristics. I think it probably reduces tram lining quite a bit from the front end. Yeah, just a good car.